Welcome to Fraud Friday. I'm Bob Coleman. We have a stellar panel. Lance Sexton, Delaney Sexton, Joseph Coleman. Joseph, I'm going to start off with you. You're the new executive director of the SBA Lender Loan Broker Roundtable. We talked about that yesterday. With Lance, we're going to talk about fraud and that.
Yeah.
But real quick, Joseph, what is the purpose of this table, and why do brokers and lenders need to sign up?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to see everyone. It's been a while since I've been on the show, but I'm glad to be back. Hey, Lance. Hey, Delaney. It's good to see you guys. So we've started a very fun thing. It's called the table, the loan broker table and the lender table. And the purpose is to match loan brokers with SBA lenders, focusing on SBA professionals. So this is SBA loan brokers and SBA lenders. Where it's going to cross over into some commercial real estate experts and some more fun guests. But we've had 2 meetings so far. Excellent start. We had a great one yesterday with Michael Bland, and he came on and spoke about eligibility and franchise stuff going on, and the new SOP and all sorts of. He's a 30-year veteran, and we had a lot of fun with him, and so we're really we're getting to the real connections of the loan brokers and the lenders. So these are weekly meetings at noon on Thursday Eastern, and again, we're focusing on just SBA loans, and all this is off the record. It's the Chatham House rules and all that fun stuff, so you guys can openly talk about really the real stuff that's going on. So we've had, again, 2 meetings so far, and we hope to see some more support moving forward.
What was nice about that, Joseph and Lance, is that we were able to match the lender, Lance's new lender community. What do you guys call yourself these days, Lance? Community bank?
Community Bank and Trust, yes.
And I hear rumors of it's called G lending, whatever, but it's nice. Michael was able to, he's a chief credit officer. He was able to answer questions. So what he wants to see on franchise deals. So thank you very much. Hey, while we're talking about that, let's talk about fraud. Lance, we did a webinar yesterday. Go ahead and bring up that slide, Anna. And we talked about Form 159 that brokers and lenders need to sign. And Lance, we were trying to put in a historical perspective why SBA has a problem with brokers and why brokers need to follow the rules and convince the lenders in SBA that they're not in that rogue subset of lenders. Yeah. Lance, this is a chart put up by the SBA Inspector General since 2005, and these are the amounts of money that have been lost to the government because of the agents in that right-hand column. $13 million, $90 million, $41 million. So, Lance, a lot of what we talked about is what can brokers do to follow the rules and make sure they're producing good loans for Main Street as well as for the SBA. Lance?
Yeah, and our webinar yesterday was talking about the SBA Form 159, and that form, the intent is to give SBA a way to track the performance of loan brokers so they're able to actually match up a loan broker with a loan that may have defaulted, and if there's a trend in defaulted loans, it gives SBA the opportunity to disengage their participation in the SBA lending program. And you know, a good loan broker is going to want to charge a fair fee that's easily reported on the SBA Form 159. You know, if you see somebody trying to charge an outrageous fee, that may be a sign for your institution about whether or not you want.
SBA does not have an issue with loan brokers making a market contracted fee with a lender.
No, not at all.
That is not a problem. What they just want it disclosed, and they want the borrower to have it disclosed to the borrower. But there's nothing wrong with charging fees. There's nothing wrong with the broker doing additional services for that borrower. They just want them disclosed, and they want the brokers to follow the rules. And Joseph, what you're doing is a great format so the brokers know what the rules are. And for the lenders also to not be afraid of working with brokers. Michael Bland, your new shop said what?
90%.
90% of the new volume is going to be coming in through loan brokers. So don't be afraid of brokers. It's a good source of business. Yeah, there is fraud. there are the numbers, but proper maintenance and being aware of that's going to solve that problem. But that didn't happen with Chris Roglieri, did it, Delaney? I'm reading this. I mean, these words that are throwing about racketeering, gun charges, wire fraud, bankruptcy fraud, substances that are alleged to be, well, they didn't say drugs, so I'm not going to say that, but substances that are out there. What's going on with Mr. Roglieri? And this is a case of let's learn what not to do.
Yeah, the accusations certainly keep piling up for Mr. Chris Roglieri. And the most recent one at the beginning of April, one of these companies, 1800 Park Avenue LLC, decided to file an adversary proceeding against Roglieri and the various companies, Prime Capital, etc. They filed an adversary proceeding since he applied for bankruptcy, so they're hoping they can remedy the situation before that all takes place. But in this situation, this company said, hey, we want to build an egg farm, I believe in Minnesota. We need $100 million to do so. And so, unaware at the time of the accusations that were rolling in, along with the company's forced bankruptcy, they sent $5 million to him anyway. And they're alleging, of course, they didn't get the deposit back. They didn't get any of the credit that they were supposed to receive. And so this is just yet another one of all the companies.
To his defense, Roglieri is saying that he is also the victim of her fraud. And I think it's also important to point out at the very bottom, good reporting, Delaney, that the charges against Chris are for the weapons charges. There are no charges for loan fraud. They are simply state charges that may change, but as of right now, we're simply dealing with the weapons charges. And what, Lance, I'm an urban guy, so what were the gun charges? Or maybe you know, Delaney, what did he? Help me out here. What did he do? Allegedly.
They allegedly found during the FBI raid an assault rifle, I believe, and then an ammunition feeding device. That's not really my forte.
This is not Arizona.
Yeah. Well, I think the gun laws vary from state to state, but New York has pretty tight gun laws, and certainly an assault weapon and a feeder would probably cause a problem in most states. So,
yeah. Anyway, what else? That is the update. What else you got for us, Delaney?
I have a couple other stories. Mr. Mendez was recently sentenced to over 2 years, 27 months in prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release. He, starting in around June 2020 through about the end of 2020, was submitting PPP and idle applications on behalf of multiple defunct companies. What he was doing is for one of these defunct companies, he would send it to as many lenders as it took before they received an approval. So all of these applications had conflicting or falsified information, inflated numbers about monthly payroll, the number of employees, false tax documents, pretty textbook PPP idle fraud here. After he was approved, he and his relatives got $1.5 million. And this was used to purchase cryptocurrency. So they seized cryptocurrency and fiat currency of over 20 accounts. I think I had to have you guys explain this to me last week. So will you go ahead and explain what fiat currency is again?
It's based on a standard. Back in the day, it was based on silver or gold. It could be perhaps based on cryptocurrency. But I want to know where the cars are. Where are the cars?
No cars as far as I know.
Oh.
Yeah, it didn't seem like besides cryptocurrency that other objects were purchased, I guess.
Well, Lance, after your foray into cryptocurrency where you lost tens of dollars, maybe hundreds of dollars, I guess it's bounced back. So the government's doing pretty well for seizing that. Correct, Lance?
Yes, Bob, and for the record, I'm back in to
cryptocurrency.
I took a whopping $200 the other day.
No. All right. Very good. Go ahead, Delaney. What do you got for us next?
In my final story here, we have a serial fraudster. So in December 2020, Mr. Justin was just released from Oregon State Prison after completing concurrent sentences for felony forgery and theft. But his crimes didn't end there. He decided to continue, and only 4 months after being released from prison, while he was still, technically being monitored and everything, he decided to defraud SBA, specifically the EIDL program, of $163,000. He registered a straw company, claimed to be an independent contractor while he was actually serving time in prison, false tax filings, once again, all the works. But the best part, he spent it on travel, living expenses, cars, and illegal drugs. Can't tell you what cars, but...
All right. That's a pretty hefty sentence from what we've seen, Delaney. Another 2 years for $160,000. Obviously, they frown upon repeat offenders, and also, I guess you mentioned the IRS was involved in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you consider it only took about 4 months for this next issue to occur. So,
well, very good. Lance, the thing that we cover these, but this is true speedier justice. I don't know what the term I want to use, but the Inspector General and the Department of Justice, they're moving very quickly on this, much different than they did 10 years ago. Tell me your overall impression of what's happening here, Lance.
Well, I just think that a lot of resources were dedicated to vetting out the fraud. I don't know if it's a couple years ago when the IRS added a lot of new agents, and many of those agents have worked on pandemic fraud. Every agency, every federal agency, several state agencies, sheriff's offices, the state police, they're all working vigorously to vet out the PPP fraud. So again, we'll continue to see stories like this every day of the week in terms of them bringing people to justice.
Lance, you made a comment in yesterday's webinar on the various series of PPP fundings, and there was one fraud that came up that you were shocked that it went through because of the hold codes that SBA has put in place. How SBA's response to that, I don't think the agency gets enough credit. After the initial fraud, which came through the first draws, the hold codes, how significantly did that tamp down the fraud in the PPP loan program, in your opinion?
Well, I think when we look at this, we think, wow, there was a ton of fraud in the 2021 round of PPP.
Right.
However, when banks put the PPP loan applications in, I wish SBA could provide us statistical information about how many loans did not get done.
Yes.
As a result of those hold codes. Now, they didn't catch everybody.
Right.
This gentleman here probably should have gotten caught in the 19-point data check that they use, but there's no system that's perfect. But, we hear all these stories about fraudulent PPP loans, fraudulent EIDL loans, but, the stat that would be interesting to see is how many loans didn't get done as a result of SBA's strong work in trying to keep fraud from happening.
Yeah, and I want to make that point because we do talk about this, but the agency needs to get credit that they did stop a significant amount of fraud. Obviously, Congress is a problem that they are continually focused on, but where we are today is significantly different than where we were in 2021.
Well, and the thing that's occurred too on 7A applications, now that they are using the same process of vetting out whether somebody's eligible or not. One of the most common hold codes on new SBA deals is they have defaulted on federal government debt. Quite often that's maybe they defaulted on a PPP loan that was presented for guaranteed purchase or an idle loan. But those individuals that didn't get forgiven, didn't pay the loan back, are not allowed to get an additional SBA loan. So they're definitely using the same process to keep people who have caused loss to the federal government from causing additional loss.
Well, I wanted to end in that positive note. Delaney, good job. Thank you very much. Lance, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today for Fraud Friday. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.